if any of you guys have not been able to see the camera, perhaps you could restart it, unless the camera's working now, of course, in which case all well and good. But I hadn't actually pressed to start the stream on the actual camera, which is anyway, going back to El Shinton Knives comment, no audio on video. There's got to be audio, guys, because the audio stream's coming through on mine. Have we got it? Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, going back to the best way of selling knives. Yeah, so anyway, it took me maybe two to 3 years, and eventually I put a website up and people started contacting me through my website. You'll get a kind of an awful lot of inquiries on your website that don't actually follow through into orders, but you know, it's I enjoy getting sort of messages off people and trying to help them out and just directing them towards what they want, you know, because it's a big investment for someone. It would be for me to spend, you know, a lot of money on a knife, but a handmade knife, you're really getting what you pay for, I think. Quality, good quality blade, you know. But yeah, now I'm maybe full year, 18 months now into possibly go, you know, since I've really started making knives, and just gradually now every week there's just a gentle trickle of orders that keep coming through that you know, it keeps me more than busy in the workshop, and I'm maybe stacked up now for 2 months, I'd say, and some of the knives I'm actually not taking orders for certain knives now, like folding knives. Just take too long, and it's a lengthy process, because as I've said before, my folding knives they're totally done by hand, everything. I've only got my general knife making tools. I've no milling machine, I've no lathe, no good surface grinder. Anyway, I've built myself a surface grinder, but so have you ever thought of joining the ABS? I haven't, mate, no. Is that the knife making organisation you're talking about? I don't know if we have an ABS in the UK. I don't think we do. I'm certainly not seen one. Maybe we do, I don't know. Blades, or it'll be, I guess that stands for something bladesmith, does it? Different, just a different world as regarding knife making here in England and in the USA. It's it's chalk and cheese, really. But going back to what I was saying, I'm starting the katana build next week, W2 katana. So I have to pull out my big heat treat oven and get that back into operation again. I'm really looking forward to building that, actually, the katana. It's a lot of forging. It's kind of like making 6 or 7 knives. American Bladesmith Society, right, okay. It's based in America but has members all over the world. Right, I will have to look into that, my friend, thank you. Definitely look into that. Yeah. Because as I was saying on my first live stream video, you know, I started knife making, and it's something I absolutely love doing now. Absolutely love it. I find the fixed blade knives, be they hidden tang, full tang, frame tang, whatever, you know, just I love making them. Folding knives, I kind of always wanted to make a folder, and I progressed and got quite good at making them, but as I say, it is so tedious, and once I've made it 2 or 3 of them, I just find it so tiresome, you know, the thought of starting another one. So I've got actually 2 Damascus ones on order now, and an 01 folder on order, and I just keep pushing them forward with each new order that comes in. So I will have to at some point get them done. So I've got to forge another feather pattern Damascus billet, and that billet I am going to do a crushed W feather pattern for that one, because I really like that pattern and I've never done it. So the last actual feather pattern I did, I meant to do a crushed W and I forgot. I forgot early on during the stacking process to actually crush the billet, and it was too late when I realised that. When I remembered, I thought, crap, it's just too late now to do it, because the layer count was too high. So I will remember on the next one anyway. So has anybody got any questions for me? I was watching I missed Tim's live stream this afternoon. I was busy in my workshop, but I missed his live stream, but I caught his recording on YouTube, at tea time tonight. I was watching that, and yeah, I'd sent him a message, and Rick Rabjohn had sent him a message as well, when I was asking Tim if his blade challenge video had been monetized, because mine hadn't. Initially when I put it on, it was monetized, and it was monetized for I think 2 days, and then they took the monetization off it, and they said not suitable for advertisers review. So I requested a review. The video went well over 1,000 views, and it just sat there, and it's been there, I don't know, how long has it been there now, 2 or 3 weeks, something like that. Still no monetization on it. So I was emailing them backwards and forwards, and they were just sending me like the same script answer that you can read on YouTube. They just sort of getting quotes out of that and sending them to me, and I'm like, Jesus, I've read all this stuff, I know all this, just tell me why you won't monetize it. Eventually the answer came back that you need 1,000 views in a 7-day period, and if you don't get that, then we won't monetize it. And so after 7 days the clock starts again. So you go on to the next days, you need 1,000 views. If you don't get that, the clock starts again. Every 7 days the clock starts from 0 again. And I think that's really wrong. I really do, because I've been watching a lot of videos lately on YouTube, looking for videos with less than 1,000 views that are monetized, and there's a hell of a lot. So I just kind of feel I've been singled out on this, and it's kind of censorship, and I don't like it. And so my last 2 challenge videos weren't monetized, and they never will be. And I'm hoping that this isn't going to be the same going forward now, that every video I put on YouTube, is monetized for 1-2 days, then it's taken down, and they're not going to give me any more revenue. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't do this for the revenue. I'd be stupid to, anybody would. But I did the YouTube creator studio thing years ago, because I wanted to get my channel looking better, and get my videos looking better for you guys. So I went through all the creator studio and did live creator face-to-face things with the YouTube team, and this, that and the other, and everything they said, really, get the best camera you can, get the lighting right, get a good video editor, get everything. So I invested quite heavily, and I have spent probably, the camera was £2,000 to start with, £2,000 for the camera, £1,600 for the PC to edit the videos, 2 screens, 2 hard drives to take the Ultra HD footage from the camera and store it on the hard drives, all the lighting, just everything. I've spent possibly £4,000-5,000 now just on gear to make videos, and it's something, don't get me wrong, it's something I wanted to do, but I thought that as my channel grows, the revenue will just sort of I know I'll never be a YouTube billionaire, millionaire like some of them are now, but I've always thought, you know, maybe if it got to a level, say in a few years, where every month I was paid a day's wages, then I could devote an entire day a month to making videos and putting them on YouTube. But it's actually gone the opposite direction. It's just plummeted to virtually zero. And they just seem to be supporting the big superstars now, you know, and throwing all the resources at them. So anyway, that's where it's going now. So how about building a new press from a log splitter? I am gonna build a press, mate, but I am not going to use a log splitter. I am starting from scratch with a hydraulic. I'm buying the hydraulic ram. I'm buying the tank, the pump. I'm buying everything, and I'm getting all the hoses. Building my own frame, everything, because it'll actually work out cheaper, and I'll actually get the press I want rather than some kind of compromise from a log splitter. So I'd have the initial cost of the log splitter, buying a decent unit that's not already worn out, you know, or if I end up buying a new one, I'm going to end up pulling that to pieces just to get the tank, the pump and the ram off it. So it's probably going to work out slightly cheaper if I build it myself, but what I'll end up with is a much better forging press for what I need, you know. The 20-25 ton is more than adequate if you've got a lot of speed with it. That's what I've found, because it's that slow crushing of the billet that just draws the heat out the billet from the dies, and it's terrible. It kills the billet, you know. And there's a massive risk of delamination on a slow forging press, massive risk. As you move towards the end of the billet, if you're trying to get the maximum crush each time on each heat, you'll actually just spread the billet open on the end like a fan. I've done it before in the past, you know. So we need a faster, maybe not as heavy press. That's what we need, a faster one, just some sort of 1 second, 1 inch a second. Absolutely fantastic that would be, you know. So Tio Disco Claudio Lunut, hi Ppotty, great channel, love your videos, learn a lot from you. Can you give me any tips on how to make the guard flush with the ricasso? I don't seem to get it not to have that gap. From Romania, hi mate. Yeah, what you need to do is build yourself I forget what they call it now. It's just like a little clamp, and it's 2 pieces of steel with 2 bolts through it, and you can actually clamp it onto the blade so that it sits level. A filing jig. It's called a filing jig. That's what it's called. And you make it out of tool steel, or you can even buy them, you know. So I made my own from some spring steel. Cut 2 good blocks up. I annealed it first so I could drill it and tap and use a tap and die on it. So I initially did that. I drilled 2 holes in one side. I ran the tap through to thread it. Then I put 2 bolts through. Then I ground the face perfectly flat and straight and level. Then it went back in and was hardened to probably 65 Rockwell, really hard, you know, so that a file is just starting to skate over it. And then that is clamped onto the blade, and then you can file down from your tang, you know, right up to the ricasso so your guard fits, you know, just beautifully on there. Yeah, we don't have, yeah, going back to the log splitter thing, mate. Yeah, I did look at log splitters here actually in this country, and God, they are so expensive, you know, for a hydraulic log splitter. You're pushing £2,000 for a good one, and it's probably, you know, that's probably double what I'm going to end up paying building a press. So I think for £1,000 I'll be good for my forging press, because I've already got the steel, the labour's free. I found a source where they're going to probably have some good used equipment like the power pack, the tank and the filters and all this, that and the other. So I'm going to utilise that and just see what he's got from used parts, which good used parts, because he wouldn't sell me rubbish, you know. So all I need to find really, I think a 4 horsepower motor on single phase, I can run that no problem. Other than that, you see, when I was looking into it, once I start going on to 3-phase motors that I can run off an inverter, the speed is lower. There's the revs on the motor are lower, and I think you need high revs on the motor, which a single phase motor will give you. So I think a 4 horsepower single phase, I think that's about as big as they go up to, or that will run on a domestic supply anyway. I think that's what I'll end up going for, but I'll be advised by the guys from the hydraulic place, you know, who are doing this stuff all the time. No problem, mate, no problem. Yeah, as I've said to you guys who have joined, I did mean to publicise the fact that I'd be doing this live stream tonight. On the last video, I just completely forgot when I was editing it to throw it in at the end, you know. I'm not going to stop too long, because I don't expect there'll be many people watching tonight, because no one knows I'm here. So I will what I will do what I'll do is I will do the same live stream next Sunday, and hopefully there'll be a few more of the forging guys in, and we can have a good old natter. So we've got, it says 10 watching. So who's got something to say? Have I missed any questions here? Oh, and when you're doing guards, mate, if you end up filing too much off the sides, you know, where it slides over the knife, if you're not putting an actual step in the tang so that the guard comes up to the step, if there's a slight gap as you're looking at against the guard, against the blade side, you can actually heat your guard up and just tap it on the side and just close it back up again slightly. I've done that in the past when there's been a hair gap, you know, and you think, God, it's so annoying. That was just one file stroke too many when when you're trying to get it on. But if you tap them or put them in the vise, heat them up, and you can squash them back again, just to give you that bit, so it's sort of, if you're going for the near perfection sort of look, you know. Well, I didn't start off too well, did I, guys, with the camera not turned on, but we got there. Talking about this rocket stove I've just made. Wow, what an incredible little stove it is. It's really good. I didn't think it was going to be this good. It really did surprise me how good it is. When I say it holds 5 gallons of wood, what I kind of mean is I used a 5-gallon bucket and filled it with wood. So that's kind of how much wood it takes, and that's about 1 load of fuel. And that 1 load of fuel, which was bits of softwood and bits of sycamore, heated the tank up to 400 centigrade, and it took about 25 minutes, something like that, to reach that temperature. It was really good. and then I shut the thing down, closed the air off, and it carried on burning for about 2 hours on the remaining fuel. And it was putting out sort of 200 degrees after that, which was great, you know. So I don't think I will carry on this much more, guys. Yeah, I've done that too, mate. Yeah, peeing in the face of the guard, because if you pee in the face of the guard, it actually pushes the metal down and squashes it back into the slot you've cut out. I have done that too. You just end up having to, you know, dress the face of your guard again, but you're not actually peeing in it too much, just light taps, and you can actually close it back on, and it'll only close it back on the front face, which is good because you've still got that wider gap on the back, so it's kind of really easy to dress the face of the slot then. You're not filing the whole guard depth. I don't know how to say your name, mate. Is it I sublimed? Is that what it is? I sublimed. Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? So what are you working on at the moment, bud? I might just queue up a rocket stove. Ah, Paul. I'll forget your name's Paul, by the way. So that's so me and Tim, Big Dog Forge, have got a lot in common. I've got no more room in my head now for kind of information, so stuff kind of goes in and comes out the other side. Stuff like names always has done in a way, but it gets worse the older you get. And the only new knowledge I attract seems to be new knowledge on existing things that are in my head, because it kind of goes in and it gets stuck to them and sort of attaches, but everything else just goes straight through now. Yay! How you doing? How you doing, Michael? Stay Cornish. I was just going to jack in, mate, because there's not that many people here tonight, because I didn't publicise it, did I? What a muppet. So Paul says, oh, I sublimed things. I sublimed. I finished the differently hardened 1055 Hunter with a wrought iron guard and tiger maple handle wall, but that looks nice, mate. Yeah, bet that looks really nice. So you just did an edge quench, did you, Paul, on that one? I've done it. Actually, oh, that's what I meant to say. On the 6-hour knife challenge, you saw me quench that blade. That blade went into the equivalent to a Parks 1050 oil, very fast quench oil, which it's called Quench 50 here in the UK. But it's like the Parks 50, and for the 01 stuff it's called Quench 25, which is a little bit slower, so it's not as brutal on 01 steel. But anyway, I quenched it in the Parks 50 because it's a spring steel. But then I never noticed until I just finished the knife and started hand sanding it that there's actually a hamon on the spine, and it is beautiful hamon, and the hamon has been created on that one because the bevels were partially ground in, and the steel has lost a lot of heat from that thinner section straight away, but that really thick 6-7 milli spine or whatever it is has retained that heat, so it's actually had a differential heat on a full quench, because I didn't keep the spine out, the spine went under, and there's a stunning hamon running along the bottom of the spine. And if I'd been keeping that or selling that, I would have definitely gone a lot higher polishing that to say 1,000, and I would have etched it in ferric and done the lemon and vinegar etch on it and just brought that hamon out, because there looked to be a beautiful ashy line on that as well. But yeah, tiger maple, that sounds sexy, that, mate. Ah, you did a clay hamon, yeah, yeah. It does, mate. Yeah, low manganese steel, 1075. It's the same as the 75 CR. Well, it's called 75 CR1 here. It's like a spring steel, but it's 0.75 carbon, and it's the same. But I don't think it's. I think there's still a good manganese content in the 75 CR1, because I've never got a fantastic hamon off it. I have got hamons, but they've never had that real ashy activity in them. Keep trying, but it's not as easy to do as W2 is, you know. Hello, Wade. I am fine, mate. I am good. As I was saying, I'm a bit peed off with Google Tube at the moment, but I think everyone is, small creators like me. I think we're all a bit hacked off with them at the moment. So Teodorescu, mate, whatever your name is, sorry. What is the best steel for knife making in your opinion? Oh God, what a subject that is. Every knife maker you ask will give you a different answer to that one. I like different steels for different purposes. Should we say that? The W2 steel I use, wow, that is a brilliant knife steel. That is so tough. That is hard stuff when it's heat treated properly, as is any other knife steel. You can use the most expensive steel you can buy, say a powdered crucible steel. If you don't heat treat it properly, it's no better than mild steel. So before you really start talking about, you know, what's the best steel I can use to make a knife, you really need to get to grips with heat treating, hardening and tempering. And that's really what I did. I kind of started with Farrier's files before I even bought any steel, which is kind of 1095. It turns out, and it's a lovely steel to start with, as is 01 tool steel. You can heat it up to non-magnetic and quench it in oil, and you'll get a hard edge, but you can get so much more out of that steel if you really read up on heat treating and tempering and just getting the process right. By heating to non-magnetic and quenching in oil, you're probably getting only about 70% of the true value of that steel as a knife. Just going the extra mile is more than worth it, because it's not much more difficult than what you're doing, you know. So El Shinton Knives asks, could you take a look at my Kiridashi if I send you a link? Yeah, of course I will, mate. Yeah, send us an email, bud, or send us a picture on email to Loz Harrop, LozHarrop, LozHarrop @live.com. I'm probably going to change that in the near future and just use my Gmail account, because the live thing is just it keeps locking up due to all the ads that are thrown onto it, you know. It really hacks me off, it does. See you, Mike. See you later, buddy. Nice to see you, mate. Where have you been? Were you driving home? L6, yeah, L6, isn't that 52 100, that, mate? Wade, I think it is, isn't it? 52100 is great. He's great. I've got some of that. Yeah, but bearing steel. God, that is hard stuff, isn't it? But different steels have different properties. I found the 75 CR1, which said 1075. I found that to be the best steel. One of the best, not the best. I shouldn't say that because I don't think there is a best steel. I found it to be one of the best for making kitchen knives that I have used so far. The edge holding on that is incredible for on a kitchen knife, and when polished to a mirror, that really resists rust and tarnishing. It's incredible stuff, you know. One part water, 1 part ferric, or 3 part water and 1 part ferric. I'd say weaker solutions are better in etching, and etch them for longer. That's what I found anyway. I know you can put a knife into undilute ferric and you'll get an etch within about 10 seconds, but it keeps etching, and it's absolutely no good for hamons. It's rubbish, absolute rubbish, because it eats away all them subtle little nuances in the steel, like the ashy lines, and it just, you know, it destroys them. Much slower etch, it reveals so much more than ferric chloride does. Dave said he was happy with his AEB/L. Real easy to work with, almost easier than 52100. Yeah, I've been using a couple of stainless steels. I've used Nylox. I can't think what the other one is, guys, off the top of my head. But I've used them both, and I've successfully managed to heat treat them. And the Nylox, I got it right on my, I think it was the 3rd attempt on the Nylox hardening, and I got it up to 50. I got it up to 65 Rockwell. The Nylox stainless, and whatever the other one was, I can't remember. I got that right on my 2nd attempt, and I just cut some, you know, tokens up, and I just started heat treating them and learning from that before I actually built a knife out of it. You know, there's no point building a knife and wrecking it, is there? So I cut some tokens, about 6 tokens, and heat treated them all slightly different to see what, you know, just to see how I could get the best out of it, because I run a gas forge with a thermocouple in the gas forge, and although, you know, they say take it up to, you know, let's say take it up to 12, 13, 1400 centigrade and quench, I'm not guaranteed that the readings my forge are giving are necessarily accurate, or as accurate as a different electric kiln, or so you never really know. So I always base my findings on the Rockwell test at the end, and then I as soon as I get it right, I write everything down, you know. But that's the way I do it anyway. So it says, have you found a supplier for W2 yet? I remember an older video where you saw some. Yeah, I got it from New Jersey Steel Baron, my friend, my mate. Yeah. Because a guy who wanted me to get some, because he wanted me to build him a katana. This was a few years ago. He said, I'll find you some, and he searched and searched, and he found some in Germany. But he says he was going to buy a metric ton of W2 from Germany, because that was the smallest order that they would ship to the UK, and he was actually going to buy it. But and he says, I'll buy it if you can sell it. And I said, well, I could sell it, but do I really want to spend the next year wrapping bars of W2 in paper and posting them to people? And I didn't. I said, so we need to find another way around it. Anyway, eventually I contacted New Jersey Steel Baron, and I kind of messed up on the order because it was in Old English. Old English measurements, like 11:30 seconds or something like that, crazy like that. I kind of tried to order the nearest to sort of 5-6 milli as I could, and it came back about 9 milli, but it's better than being too thin, isn't it? But it's tough stuff to forge, you know. So yeah, CPM 154 is hell on blades and belts and saw blades. Yeah, I'm sure it is, mate. But yeah, I ordered from New Jersey Steel Baron. I think I ordered 10 bars, which are about 4 foot long, and as I say, they came back at 10 mil. And I never forget the day the postman knocks on the door with his big sort of box, and he went, "Jesus, mate, what's in this?" He said, "It weighs a ton." I said, "Yeah, it's steel from America." And I got away without customs charges, which I was amazed at. I was expecting to get really slammed, but because every time something comes from the States, you know, they really slam us with customs charges and import duty and every other tax and thing they can slap on and, you know, really rip you. So when we're in the UK and we look at things that are for sale in the States, even though there's a currency difference, if it's $1, if it costs $1 in the UK, in the US, it will generally cost you £1 by the time it's been shipped over and it's been taxed and tested and slapped with charges. But I'm just saying, there is no supplier of W2 in the UK. You will not get it. I contacted at least 30 different companies in the UK asking for W2, and no one had it in stock, and nobody could suggest anybody who might stock it. And the guy who sourced it in Germany, that's what he did for a living. He was a sourcer, and he said, I must have rung every steel manufacturing supplier in Britain and no one's got it. He said, so if I can't get it, no one can get it, unless there's a few bars lying underneath a bench or in an old rack in a steel supplier somewhere. You're not going to find it, guys, you know. You're just not. Owen Bush said that somebody, I can't think who it was, this was when it was British Blades. Owen had said that somebody somewhere still had stocks of W2. And this was 3-4 years ago, and I contacted them, and they said no, it's been 2 years since we've stocked any. We just don't carry it anymore because it's not used anymore. Because I think the old use for W2 was in shear cutters and stuff like that, and they sort of started going over to using stainless steels and, you know, stuff like that for them. Are there any steel mills in the UK? Yeah, there are. Not many, but there still are. But the W2 is actually made in Germany. I know Aldo at New Jersey Steel Baron, his W2 is made in Germany and then it's shipped over to the USA. So my W2 was made in Germany. It sailed around Britain and sailed off to America, and then it came back on a plane or on a boat, I don't know how it came back, to Britain. So it travelled virtually all the way around the world to get back to me here. Is there a steel that is comparable? I know from watching a lot of UK knife makers, there is usually something similar. I know Europe sells a lot of good steels, but they are hard to get here in the US though. The blue and white Hitachi steels. Yeah, I was going to send for some of that to do a San Mai construction, but it's got a high Rockwell working hardness, hasn't it? Is it around 62? Something like that. I think it is. Without chipping and cracking. One sec. Oh. So has anybody on here gonna take up the 6-hour knife challenge? Going forward, I'll just go back over these comments, fellas, and I might have missed some. I probably have, actually. I just finished a Hamon test with MacMaster Car versus Parks 50W2 versus 1095. I was kind of surprised with the results. Do you know what? I read loads on W2 about quenching it, and I will never follow advice off forums anymore now, because most of it is just hot air. I think if someone says, "Oh, just don't," just try it yourself, because that's the only way forward, in my opinion, on getting Hamons. You can read 1,000 things and try 1,000 different methods. Just do it yourself and find a method that works for you, as with most things, you know, because there's not one way of doing everything. Everyone says that W2 gives a better Hamon at lower temperature, and for me it absolutely does not. It is the Hamon on W2, on the W2 I've got, which I'm guessing is, I think, 0.95 carbon, although I'm not completely sure because I never got a spec sheet off Aldo, and I know he stocks different grades of W2. So I think it's probably 0.95 because I think that's what he had in stock at the time. But at low temperature, the Hamon is virtually non-existent. I need to go above non-magnetic, probably 815 to 20 gives an amazing Hamon. So, and the oil needs to be warm, say 40 degrees, and it needs to be fresh. Parks 50. Old Parks 50 gives a garbage Hamon. So every time I do a Hamon now, I get a new pot of Parks 50. I heat it to 40 degrees. I soak the blade for 10 minutes at 815 to 820 degrees, and then it's quenched, and I leave it in the quenchant until I can touch the blade. Then I take it out. Then it's tempered straight away. And what I've got is what I've got. But that is the best method I have found of getting a Hamon in my W2 and using my forge and, you know, my stuff, say. Oh, comments. Ooh, hang on. I'm getting behind here. Dave Irving says he can only do stock removal. He hasn't got an anvil, so yeah, well, if that's all you can do, mate, it's all you can do. Don't worry about it, you know. Forging is not the be all and end all of knife making. It's nice. I enjoy forging, you know, I really do, but sometimes it's just nice to buy it, to get a brand new strip of steel, draw the knife shape out of it, run through it on the bandsaw, surface grind it, flatten it out, put your bevels in, drill the pinholes, put your handle on, heat treat it, temper it, put your handle on, clean it up, and away. It's so satisfying doing that sometimes. Other times it's great to go and smash the hell out of it on the anvil for 2 or 3 hours, you know. But the only 1095 source I've got is the Farrier's files I use. I'm going to buy some 1095 anyway, some new stock. But the only source I've got at the moment is the Farrier's files and that really old leaf spring I've got, the 1940 stuff, because that gives lovely hamons, that. So I'm just assuming it's a low manganese, low carbon steel. I think it's probably more likely some 1060 or something like that actually, because there's not much flare on the sparks when they come off the grinder, so there's not a lot of carbon in them. So you might take up the challenge sometime in the near future, but right now my mind won't be in it with the knives. I'm trying to get finished up. Yes, alright mate, no problem. The next one, I'll let you into a secret. What I'm thinking of is chain Damascus, right? And a Sanmai billet, a Sanmai blade. So forge out a chain, cut that into two and forge it onto a piece of tool steel, carbon steel, 1085 spring steel, whatever. So make a Sanmai billet out of that, out of chains. Then shape grind and make the knife. So that's what I'm thinking of doing on the next one, and I might probably have to give it 8 hours, something like that. So it can be split up into 2 days, can't it? Then so it's just like 2 4-hour days, which is going to be easier for people to do. I don't know if it's achievable in 6 hours. It probably is, but it might be really cruddy, you know, trying to rush doing it. But hey. I've done Rockwell tests for guys on knife steels as well. You know, people have sent me different blades for and tokens for, you know, for testing the Rockwell on the blades, and they've all been pretty good actually, you know. It's great. It's lovely Sanmai, isn't it? Especially stainless Sanmai. The success, my second really successful stainless Sanmai billet, I made that into a kitchen knife and I use that myself. I love that knife. It's got a 1095 core in it, and wow, it really is a brilliant knife. It's about yay long, probably 7 inches long, the blade. It's like a small chopper. Well, not a chopper, just like a miniature version of a large, you know, 10-11 inch chef knife. And it's got a convex grind on it, but it stays so sharp. It's incredible. It's really good. The 1095 is about 61 Rockwell, I think I hardened it out at, tempered it out at, sorry. And the stainless is soft as muck, but it just stays really clean. And the amazing thing is that etch on the 1095 from the ferric chloride has stopped that blade rusting completely. There is no rust on the 1095 portion of the blade, so I'm really impressed with that. And when I try out a new method or I try out some new steels, or I always use them myself first just to see how it performs, you know. One video, oh, here he is. My assistant has just brought it up to me. There it is. and that I've been using that since I'd have to go back and check my videos to see how long ago I made this knife. It's a good 6 or 7 months anyway. It may be longer than that, but and I don't really look after my kitchen knives. They get chucked in the sink and washed with everything else, then they just go into the draining board. But that knife it's an incredible knife. It's really good. And that's it's a mirror polish. You can just see my camera there on it. But it's a I think it was just ordinary 316 stainless. No particular fancy brand of stainless. But that 1095 is so hard, you can't really bend this thing. And it's not a chippy edge. And I sharpen it perhaps once a month. I just run it over the strop once a month, and it slices like a good one, that blade. It's really good. Yeah, it did, mate. Yeah, that's it. It did turn out brilliant. It's fantastic. But I was really pleased, when that worked out. The one thing I've learned about doing sanmai with stainless is, you pack it that you weld it up completely. Well, I put some WD-40 and just a little tiny squirt of WD-40, particularly with stainless, because it's difficult, if not impossible, to get stainless to stick to carbon steel or stainless in with oxygen present. So I put a bit of WD in just to burn up any oxygen as it heated up in the forge, and just to aid bonding it all together. But what happened was the WD actually expanded the packet out, and it popped one of the seams. And I think to a degree, with trying to forge weld stainless to carbon, you need a very slight pinhole to stop the billet, expanding out and then just blowing a seam open somewhere. So the next one I make, I will leave a tiny pinhole at the tang end, because the tang end of the knife, it doesn't matter if there's a slight delam there. It just doesn't matter at all. You could actually grind the stainless off that and just leave the carbon core for your tang, So yeah, going forward on my next stainless sanmai, I won't have a completely airtight packet. There'll be a little hole just at the back to let the excess air or whatever out. And that is the future for me of welding sanmai, stainless sanmai. I once forgot, Dave says he once forgot and left a blade in ferric overnight. It came down the next morning and it was filled with hull. One of those nightmares, Bills, everyone went wrong. I was like, good riddance. I put some sheath hardware in some ferric, some rivets and pins and clips, and just to darken them all off. And I forgot, and I remembered about 2 days later when I saw this container with a bed of ferric on the side bench, and I thought, what's that? And then I remembered, oh yeah, there was rivets and things in that, and it had just gone. It had eaten everything. There was no trace of it. Anyone else used any raw tying? That sacks I made, wow, I love that. I love that raw tying when it was forged out. It just kind of looked like Wootz Damascus, the pattern in it. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. That's something else. Just never enough time, is there, to do all the things you want to do, and that's I guess that's kind of the pitfall of making knives and trying to get an income from making knives. You end up making knives for customers and you don't end up with any time left to make the knives you want to make or do the things you want to do, you know, do the forge welding and all these different things you want to try out. But you can't have everything, can you? You know. So Jeff asks, during the 6-hour challenge, did the blade retain the original curve of the spring? What step was possibly missed, or would you spend extra time doing it to guarantee a straight blade? Yeah, what I know from, because that old steel, you know, it's 70 something years old, that steel, and it's been bent in that shape for 70 years. I'm sure that matters. I'm sure it matters to that steel anyway, but I've used it in the past and it always tries to go back to where it was, and the only successful way I've learned in how to stop that is to heat it up to sort of critical or forging temperatures even, you know, and straighten it out, get it back up to say 1000 degrees, something like that, and put it in vermiculite or wood ash and just let it cool overnight, and I guarantee every time after that it stays as straight as can be. But obviously during the challenge I couldn't do that, so you've got to let it go cold in the ash or the vermiculite, and it kind of loses its memory altogether then if you do that. So that's what I would normally do with spring steel. But it's a nice spring steel, that, as I was saying, it's not one of the kind of modern spring steels. It's kind of a 1060, 1070 type spring steel, that. Have I tried a kerosene soak after welding? Kerosene, that's kind of like, is it like paraffin or something, that what we call paraffin here, or some, I think it is, isn't it? Soak after, or like diesel fuel or something after welding. Most of the perimeter, then finishing the weld around in after. Yeah, I've done that. Yeah, I have. I've tried welding with WD in the billet, and it just flares out at the end as you weld, as I've been welding the billet up. So I've kind of done all the welding around the envelope, and then just put a little tiny squirt in the end, let it run down, and then welded the top up and welded the bar on. That's how the last one I did. But even that expanded, it pushed the stainless out. Like, you know, when you're heat treating stainless and you put the stainless packet round it, that kind of blows out whilst it's being heated up, you know, the same kind of thing. But the stainless also does that, and it'll find the weakest point in your weld and just blow it out. And if it happens to blow it out near the edge, then you'll get a D-lam there when you try and forge it together. So I think better to have a little expansion, an air expansion hole near the tang end, so if it blows out there and you get a slight D-lam, it doesn't matter. Because I found on the stainless on my billets that the D-lam doesn't extend very far. It only kind of goes an inch at the most. So an inch on a tang with a D-lam is fine, because when I've eventually forged the blade out, like can you see? You can see the thickness. I don't know if it'll show up on this. You can see the thickness of the stainless on the spine on that knife, and it is, the light's not so good in here for me. On one side it probably varies between 0.5 mil to maybe 1 mil maximum. So yeah, the stainless is so thin that if you lost it on the tang it wouldn't matter. yeah, a good long anneal really can help with clearing the springs memory. It does, that's what I found, mate. It behaves beautifully once you anneal it. Mind you, most steel does anyway. I often do that with Damascus, with my feather patterns. Because I'll usually do a feather pattern over 2 or 3 days. I never, because I haven't got a press or a power hammer fast enough to move the metal fast enough in one day, especially for something like a feather pattern where you need a really high layer count. So I'll kind of generally purposely split it up into 3 days, and just before I go to the stage where I'm going to cut the stack, I'll anneal it, and it really helps bond, and all that steel just loses all its stress. You know, each layer loses any stresses, and I think it really helps that layer, that all them different layers to bond together. Well, I do, and since I've been doing that, particularly with really high layer counts where you're splitting them, I've never had a problem, and all the welds have been really, really nice, you know. Right, okay. So, guys who regularly do some my, just start with clean steel and weld the perimeter, so there's nothing to expand. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was probably the first time I did it. I did that. You know, the steel was dead clean, spotlessly clean, in fact, and everything had been wiped down with acetone and cleaned. You know. So, but the first time I did it, it failed, and I think that was down to just poor welding around the seam, around the packet, shall we call it packet or the billet, whatever. But the second time I did it, what I did, I just remembered actually, I didn't weld all the way around. What I did, I took a wider piece of stainless and folded it, so it was like that. Then I put the carbon in between, and then I actually folded that lip over, and then I welded that lip, so there was never going to be any oxygen getting into from the side, you know, where the cutting edge or the spine was. There was never going to be any oxygen getting in there, the weakest point. And I think I might have even folded the end over, I can't remember now, but that's what I will also do going forward as well. Yeah, I agree, mate. A long soap, yeah. Yeah. I know it needs to be really hot. I do know that. Hotter the better. That forge of mine runs after, it takes about 30 minutes, and it will then run all day between 14 and 1500 degrees at 30 psi, because I've had when I rebuilt that forge, I had the thermal probe thing in. I had that in, and I spent hours and hours just regulating the temperature and the pressure to just find out what temperatures it was running at, you know. So it's kind of stuff you need to do, isn't it? You need to know what your equipment, where your equipment is and what your equipment does, you know. You need to sort of get that into your memory, so you're not messing around every time you come to start the forge up with probes and thermometers, finding out what temperatures. But I like that gas forge because it's safe. It's never once burnt the steel. Yeah, it's like just like a stainless wrap, but with a 1 or 2 mil wrap. Well, this has been good, but I'm going to go in this soon, guys. I'm not going to stick around too long. Like I say, I should have publicised this and I meant to in that last video, but I just forgot, you know. You want to build a heat treat forge like yours, yeah? It's brilliant, that heat treat forge, mate. I'm so made up with it, really am. I built it because it's a big, you probably noticed it's a massive thing, right? And you would think, well, I only need to make one long enough for the longest knife I'm going to make, but I'd been doing quite a bit of reading, obviously, before I built it. And some quite knowledgeable people had written that the bigger the internal area inside a heat treating oven, the more stable the temperature is. You know, you're going to be able to stabilize the temperature better, and that is true with this oven. You saw it on the video. It's maybe 9 or 10 inches wide inside, and it's slightly higher, probably about 12 inches high inside, and the whole tunnel is possibly 2 foot long, something like that. And that climbs really nicely. It's got a really nice curve, you know, on the temperature as it goes up. It doesn't jump rapidly, and then I can alter the throttle and the choke on that Amal burner, and I can set it to 1 degree, and it'll hold for minutes and minutes on 1 degree. It only ever kind of climbs, but very, very, very slowly. So I can leave it, once it's hot, once the thing is hot, once you fire it up and you stabilise the temperature and it's at temperature, and once it's been there, say 20 minutes, it won't move then. It will hold to 1 or 2 degrees for forever. You know, it's really good that way. But it is so accurate that if I just poke a cold piece of steel with 6 inches into the opening, the temperature just goes right down. So that's kind of how accurate a temperature there is in that heat treat oven. I'm really pleased with it, and I was going to make an electric kiln, but that heat treat oven is so cost effective. It's fantastic. It's had the same bottle on it now for nearly 2 years. So that bottle was 50 quid, and I think there's probably about a third of that bottle of gas still left, and that bottle was actually on the forge before it went onto the heat treat oven. So I mean, I don't even know how many times I've used it over the last 2 years, but it's an awful lot, you know. Jeff wants to know when we are going to be able to see the video about the rocket stove. When I've edited it, mate. Alright. There's about 20 hours of footage, because I just filmed loads. I just kept the camera running for most of it. So like I say, I'm going to do the full length panoramic version, which I'll cut out the boring bits of me cutting through a bottle for 10 minutes, and you know, they'll be edited down to show the beginning and the last bit of the cut and stuff like that. And it's all that takes so much time when you're putting videos together, you know, because you've got to damn well watch all the footage, you know, 4 or 5 times to get the best bits out of it. And by the time you finish doing the video, you never want to see it again, you know. But I'm going to do the short version, which will be I think about 10 minutes or so, and I'll try and get that on within the next week. But to put that 10 minutes on will probably take me about 4 hours, 5 hours just to edit it, and then get it uploaded. So in the next week, mate, I'll get it on, definitely. The version, the extended version, or the LP, will be going on Patreon. I don't even know how to get it on there yet, but that will be going on probably a week after that. Or no, what I'll actually do is I'll put them both on the same time. I'll put one on YouTube. Then if you think you want to watch the full version on Patreon, you can go and watch that on there. But the Patreon version will have a full set of really good plans on it, you know, so you can build this. And believe me, I am not exaggerating now in any way. That stove is amazing. And if you want a heater that is really easy to build, just, you know, you're gonna want to build this, because it's surpassed anything I thought it would, you know, on the fuel it's burning, its efficiency, the heat production, the emissions. There's zero. There's just zero coming out that flue but a little heat haze. And it's the riser tube. I'll just give you a brief insight into it. The riser tube is 8.5 inches, and I'm pretty sure it's a wrought iron pipe. If I'd known it was wrought iron before I used it, it wouldn't have got used, because I would have kept it and made knives out of it. I would have done some Sanmai wrought iron, because it's about 5mm thick. It's beautiful. Anyway, it's now a rocket stove, but yeah, it's 8.5 inches. And what I have done is I have cast inside that, so I've reduced it inside at the bottom with refractory to, I think, 6.5 inches. It will say on the video. So we have got the firebox burning into a 6.5 inch diameter riser, which then expands out to the full 8 inches. I've cast about 12 inches, maybe a little 14 inches or so of cast refractory in the bottom, for two reasons. That cast refractory is going to protect that wrought iron for the life of the stove, so that wrought iron is never going to be eaten away by the heating and cooling, you know, of just the effect of that direct flame onto the surface of the steel. So it's protected from that. And also that refractory is a kind of little oven that once it gets up to temperature, you're just going to get a super efficient burn in that first 14 inches, which is where the vast majority of the activity in a rocket stove happens. If you've not got a clean burn in that bottom section of the riser, you're never going to get one higher up. So yeah, try and get it on the next week. What am I up to, guys? Oh, right, I've caught up, yeah. Heat treating oven. Built 2 heat treating ovens now from gas bottles. My big one is for doing the katanas, which I'll be using that towards the end of next week when I build this katana. Thanks, Simon. Yeah, that rocket stove video will be up in the next week, my friend, and you are gonna love it. Yeah, the katana, as I say, mate, the katana, I'm starting that on Monday. He's very specific about what he wants. He wants the guard. I don't know what the guard's called. I did know, I've forgotten. But he wants a skull and crossbones on that, because that's his kind of emblem. That's the emblem. The emblem of his bike club, the skull and crossbones. So the skull will be around the actual hilt, or around the actual katana blade. So if you look at the katana front on, you'll just see the whole skull and crossbones, and it will be a circular guard all pierced with the skull and crossbones in it. So that's what he wants, and I'm going to possibly, probably, definitely, almost certainly cast that in brass. So I'll be making a little template for that and casting it in brass, because now as I finish this rocket stove I can go on and build my foundry. Now I've got my crucible and everything else, so gotta start casting some brass. Yeah, video making, yeah, it's not easy, is it, mate? It's not. It's a lot easier doing like a live stream, because you just sit here and do it, you know. Yeah, all you guys who are going, thanks for tuning in, fellas, and I will be here next Sunday anyway. It's about the same time, so on the Rocky Stove video, which I'll get up next week, I'll put my next live stream time in. Do you still have the pigeons? And so why don't you upload videos of them? I haven't done any videos of them, Matthew, because really I've kind of got nothing. This just cooped up in the boxes, and I don't really know what else to say about them, you know, that I've not already said. I've got so many other things I need to do videos on, or I want to do videos on, you know, and I don't even get time for that. Yeah, I have thought about writing a book on rocket stoves, but I don't like reading books. I'm more visual, so I've never been really a big book reader. I've always learned far more from watching someone do something. You know, I can pick things up so much better when I watch someone do something. And I think 1 minute of, you could fill a book with 1 minute of video footage. Because I can watch 1 minute of video and read a whole book and not understand what he did in that 1 minute, but watching him I can. So for this Patreon thing, what I'm going to do, just for the rocket stove guys, I'm going to do a whole series of videos explaining each aspect of rocket stoves and what I've learned and what I've come to know about them, you know. That's what I'm going to do out that. That's everything from heat transfer, from fireboxes, from preheating air, from secondary air, from tertiary air, from riser tubes, from castings, from refractories to dimensions to flues to live, just everything. That's what I'm going to do. To Suba, that's it, isn't it? That's the fella, the Suba, yeah. Okay, mate. I'm going now as well. Yeah, I'm done. I've been here far longer than I was only going to be on for 15-20 minutes, but yeah. Elshington Knives, I'm going to start uploading soon. Good, mate. Will you comment in my, when this goes up later? Will you just comment and then I can subscribe to you, because I don't think I can do it off this screen. Morning coffee and Potty Awesome watching from Sydney, Australia. Old school only. Hi mate, how you doing? I'm just that subscriber. I keep saying subscriber. That 6 hour knife challenge knife is heading out to Oz this week, I think. Simon, see you later, mate. I'm going, yeah, I'm going. I've been here nearly 1.5 hours now, so I'm about to wrap it up, fellas. Anyway, if anyone's got anything they want to ask, or just if you're quick, I'll try and get an answer in for you. Before I disappear, we're going to. My son says, Dad, what you should do is you should have another tier on your Patreon account, and it should be the highest tier, and it should be a $100 tier, and you should just call it pigeon porn. and just do videos about pigeons. Right, guys, I will. Thanks for coming along. Anyway, I'm gonna head off now. I'm just gonna start the long process of editing this rocket stove video, but I've got some more videos coming. Like I say, I'm filming the katana next week that I'm gonna build. I've got a beautiful Bowie knife that I've just finished. I've got that whole video to edit and get on YouTube. I have got the sheath I built for the 6-hour knife challenge. I've videoed that, so I'll show you how I built the sheath for that. So all they're all coming up, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of other things like the rocket stove ones coming along shortly as well. So take care, guys, and thanks for watching. Thanks, Jeff Beard. No problem, mate, and we'll see what we can do going forward. Elshington Knives. I don't know what that means, mate, what you've just done there. Two quid. Is that a... I don't know what that is, mate. Not a clue. Like I say, if it's something to do with Patreon, I've no idea, because I'm kind of not doing the Patreon thing. When my son's going to do it. He's also going to, I believe, he's going to set up a donation thing for my PayPal account for people who just want to donate something to the channel. I think he's going to set that up and put because he's making me a new banner. I think the old shed's going now from the video, so the old shed's going to go, and we're going to have a brand new banner, and he's going to put a donate link to PayPal on that, and it'd be great if people I mean, I'm not asking for the earth here, you know, and if I wasn't getting any money at all, I would still do the videos, but I'd just love to do more videos, you know, I really would, but it's just the time. It takes so long, you know. Thanks, buddy. To Elshington Knives, yeah, thanks, mate. I don't know how that translates into anything, but if it has translated into something, thanks very much, my friend. But I'll definitely sub you, mate. Definitely, as soon as this gets uploaded onto YouTube, I'll sub your channel, and perhaps you want to join us in the knife challenge as well. There's going to be a few more. The next one is particularly fiendish. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll do it again next week. But for now, good night. Good night. And again, I don't know how to stop it. Ah, yes I do. It's over here. Where is it? Where is it? There.